Hello everyone, Ben here, and welcome to another Senate prediction. Before I get into this one, I'm going to say 2 subscribers away from 100, so keep a lookout for that. And also, the schedule for this week is today I'm going to be covering the Indiana Senate race, to a degree, the Indiana Senate race for this year. And I'm going to, sometime in the middle of the week, Wednesday, Thursday-ish, I am going to start, I'll call it a new series, I guess, where I just talk about, the political views of the nation, where I'm going to talk about, things like what the nation thinks about firearms, what the nation thinks about spending, government spending, what the nation thinks about this, that, or the other thing. I'm going to talk about the various viewpoints from different groups of people, simply because I think that it is important to cover those topics. Now, and on Saturday, more than likely on Saturday, I'm going to cover what in my opinion are the 10 best presidents in U.S. history. So anyway, on to Indiana. So, looking at Indiana, this is a solid red state. And when I say solid red, I mean it's solid red. 1982, it voted 7 points more Republican than the nation as a whole. Then it jumped with an incumbent, so, the incumbent can expect a decent-sized boost, at least if they're a Republican. Maybe if they're a Democrat, they'll receive a boost. I'm not sure. But I will treat it as if he will. And I'll get to Joe Donnelly in a bit. 1988, with an incumbent. So there was already an incumbent in 1982. I should state that. And he was a Republican. And he won 53 to 45. Of course, that's an 8-point gap, but the average Republican won about 46% of the vote in the nation. And he won, so therefore 7 points more Republican than the nation as a whole. 1988, he did 16 points better than the average Republican and won re-election pretty easily. 94, he won re-election pretty easily again, doing 18 points better than your average Republican. In 2000, he ran again and won again, doing about 20 points better than the average Republican. So, yeah, very solid red state. And then 2006, when he ran for re-election, and I'm going to ignore this result for the purposes of analyzing the swing of the state, simply because this is not a very replicable situation, because the Democrats didn't even run a candidate in Indiana in 2006. So the Republican won about 87% of the vote, which is, I forget what his name is. I think it was like Richard Lugar or something. And he outperformed the average the national Republican by 46%. So yeah, I'm going to ignore this one simply because there was no Democrat candidate to compare to. And in 2012, he actually ran again, but he was primaried by a Tea Party candidate who didn't appeal to some of the more moderate Republicans in the state. And he, well, to put it lightly, the Republicans, of course, lost the seat, and the Democrats won the seat, and Joe Donnelly won. Now, I do have to factor in a few things. The Tea Party candidate said some absolutely idiotic things regarding legitimate rape and pregnancies from rape and stuff like that, with regards to questions on abortion and stuff like that. So that really hurt his polls. Not as much as, say, what's his face in Alabama, Roy Moore, did with his sexual assault history versus Doug Jones. But yeah, the Republicans ran a really bad candidate simply because the Tea Party actually won. And I don't think that's going to be the case this year. I think they're actually going to put forward a good a candidate that won't shoot himself in the foot every 2 weeks. And of course, it still voted more Republican than the nation as a whole, with the Republican doing about 2 points better than Republicans did nationally. There was also significant third-party voting. About 5% of the vote went to the Libertarian candidate. So I'm going to give about 2 points bonus to the Democrat for the sake of incumbency. I'm going to give him a little bit of a bonus for being an incumbent. But as we can see, the state was shifting more and more towards the Republicans, and if the pattern held up from 1988, where every 6 years it becomes about 2 points more Republican, it should be about 22-24. So I'm going to say we're gonna give the Republicans about 4 extra points. So I would say this is going to vote 4 points more Republican than the nation as a whole. Regarding the Senate, and probably more because it is Indiana, and when comparing Class 1, which is the Senate class we're dealing with, you've got large states like California, Washington, New York, that tend to be, and of course all these states that tend to vote Democrat in Senate elections for their seats. I just don't see... I could see this being anywhere from, I'm going to assign a range. I could see this being Republican plus 2, aka 2 points better than the Republican, to maybe 10 points more Republican than the nation as a whole. So that would mean the Republican doing about 10 points better than the national Republican. Now, this is the Congress race, and currently the Democrats are only beating the Republicans by about 5 points, and that's including every state. If we were just talking about the Senate, Democrats probably have a slightly larger lead. But I'm going to move to the next one, and I'm just going to put that there and exit out of that. Trump has actually dramatically improved his approval ratings. We haven't had any new polls since this week started, but that could easily change. That's definitely going to change, and we're probably going to get a few more polls in starting this week. And as you can see, he's hovering in the mid 40% range in terms of approval rating, and his disapproval is starting to hit, is in the low 50s, which is much different than when it was almost here. And of course, looking at this, yes, he's more unpopular than just about everybody. Gerald Ford being an exception to the rule. But at this point, you realize, yeah, it could get a lot worse. For example, Carter, most of his presidency was under where Trump is. Ronald Reagan had a surprisingly low approval rating at one point. H.W. really hit some lows. Of course, Ford, obviously. Nixon was pretty bad. LBJ really hit the tank at the end. But this just also goes to show that America is getting a lot more polarized. So, anyway, let's go back to that. And, well, so that range, depending on, if I absolutely had to guess, I'm going to say R plus 6. So I'm just going to split the difference. I think that means that it's going to be a dead heat. Unfortunately, I can't make it as a dead heat. So I'm going to favor the incumbent in any case where I call it a dead heat. So I'm going to say Joe Donnelly keeps the seat, but it will not be comfortable in the slightest. It's a state he could very easily lose, simply because of the nature. And of course, I haven't been able to see the I haven't seen any polls for this race out yet, but like I said, I'm just going to err on the side that the incumbent is going to maintain his seat in any case where I call a race as a dead heat, just for the sake of consistency. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a nice day, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.